Nobody sits you down and tells you they've stopped respecting you. You notice it in smaller moments first. The interruption you let slide, the joke that cuts a little too deep, the promise that suddenly stops mattering, and one of the most dangerous signs can feel like closeness or honesty, which is exactly why people miss it. Respect usually doesn't collapse in one dramatic moment. It erodes through patterns. The goal here is not to make people fear losing you or to force anyone to value you. It's to notice what you repeatedly allow, what you calmly address, and whether your actions support your words. Start with sign number 1. They repeatedly interrupt or talk over you. Everyone cuts someone off sometimes. Excitement, bad timing, or a fast conversation can do that. The pattern matters. If the same person routinely speaks over you, finishes your sentences, or redirects attention before you're done, the message can become simple. Your voice does not need full space here. Imagine a meeting where you begin an idea and the same coworker cuts in 3 times. The common mistake is either shrinking completely or exploding after weeks of silence. A steadier response is brief. I want to finish this point. Then finish it. Calmly protecting your turn is not drama. It is a signal that your words deserve the same space as everyone else's. Sign number 2. The jokes at your expense keep getting sharper. Healthy teasing has warmth, reciprocity, and a sense that both people are safe. Disrespect disguised as humor feels different. The same insecurity, weakness, or private detail keeps becoming the punchline, especially after they have seen you look uncomfortable. Sometimes humor is also a test of what you will tolerate. Picture a friend mocking your job in front of the group again and again. If you laugh along while resentment builds, they may assume the joke is acceptable. But becoming offended by every playful comment is not the answer either. Try something simple. That one is getting old. No speech, no attack. Mature boundaries are often brief because they do not need a courtroom argument. Sign number 3. They mostly contact you when they need something. A favor, advice, a ride, an introduction, emotional support, then silence. One request means nothing. A repeated pattern can reveal a relationship built around access rather than reciprocity. The uncomfortable part is that constant availability can help create this pattern, even when your intention was simply to be generous. Maybe a sibling calls only when there is a crisis to solve, but disappears when you need support. The mistake is to keep saying yes while secretly hoping they will notice your loyalty. That turns kindness into emotional debt. Give because you choose to, not because you are buying future care. Healthy relationships do not require scorekeeping, but they cannot run in only one direction. Sign number 4. They keep crossing a boundary you have already made clear. This is the one people often excuse with, "They're just comfortable with me." But comfort is not permission. The mistake is repeating the same limit while changing nothing afterward. A boundary becomes real when your behavior changes after it is crossed. That is not punishment. It is follow-through. For example, you tell a relative you will not stay in conversations where they insult your partner. They do it again. Instead of arguing for an hour, you end the call or leave the room. Calmly, consistently. The consequence is not, "I will hurt you back." It is, "I will remove myself from this version of the interaction." Self-respect becomes visible through what you actually do. Sign number 5. They cancel plans, break promises, or waste your time with very little concern. Life happens. People get sick, work runs late, emergencies appear. One cancellation proves nothing. What matters is the pattern, and especially what happens afterward. Do they apologize, reschedule, and show consideration? Or do they repeatedly leave you waiting as if your inconvenience does not matter? Imagine someone confirms dinner, disappears for hours, then texts later with no explanation, and expects you to be available next week. The common mistake is pretending it never bothers you, then becoming resentful. A mature response is to stop building your schedule around unreliable behavior. People reveal priorities not only by what they say yes to, but by how carefully they handle your time. Sign number 6. They casually dismiss your opinions, emotions, contributions, or achievements. A partner waves off your concern as too sensitive. A manager repeats your idea later as if it appeared from nowhere. A family member turns your achievement into a comparison. Repeated minimization can slowly teach you to shrink your own voice before anyone else has to do it for you. Here is where people often make the situation worse. They try harder to impress the person doing the minimizing. More proof, more explaining, more achievements, more emotional evidence. But when someone repeatedly minimizes you, trying harder to win their approval can keep you trapped in an endless audition. Address the behavior clearly once, then watch what the pattern does next. Sign number 7 is the one I mentioned at the beginning. It can feel like closeness, openness, or deep communication. But around this person, you constantly feel pressured to explain, defend, justify, or prove yourself. You explain why you said no. You defend harmless preferences. You produce evidence for decisions that should not require anyone else's approval. Healthy communication is not the problem. The problem is compulsive justification to someone who has already decided your answer is not enough. Suppose you tell a friend you cannot attend an event. Instead of accepting it, they interrogate your reason, then challenge every detail you provide. Your decision slowly starts to sound like an application they get to approve. A stronger response is not coldness. It is completion. I can't make it, but I hope it goes well. Then stop adding evidence. If clarification is useful, clarify. If mutual understanding is possible, talk. But when every explanation becomes a new opening to debate your basic right to choose, more words rarely create more respect. They usually create more access to argue with you. The more you plead for permission to trust yourself, the more authority you hand away. So how do you rebuild respect? Start by removing the habits that make your standards look negotiable. Speak more clearly, follow through more consistently. Respect your own time, and stop giving unlimited access to patterns you have already addressed. Emotional steadiness matters because it makes your boundaries predictable. You do not need louder reactions. You need clearer actions. Some people will adjust when they realize your words now have follow-through. Others may become irritated because the old arrangement benefited them. Distance is not revenge. Sometimes it is simply the most honest response to a pattern that refuses to change. Rebuilding respect does not always mean repairing the relationship. Sometimes the healthiest outcome is giving someone less access to your time, energy, and trust. You cannot control another person's opinion of you, but you can control what behavior you accept and whether you remain in a dynamic that repeatedly asks you to abandon yourself. The goal is not to become colder, harder, or impossible to reach. It is to become more aligned. Your words, choices, time, and boundaries should tell the same story. You do not need everyone to respect you, but you do need to stop participating in dynamics that require you to abandon respect for yourself. Subscribe for more on psychology, human behavior, confidence, and self-mastery.